Hi everyone, welcome to my first video on how to create a web app. The app we'll be creating will be a Dropbox type of application for people to submit a form and upload their resumes, upload a couple documents. So let's start. We'll be using the Flask Framework to create our web application. I'm going to create a folder called Dropbox. That's going to be the name of our app. Let's change the directory into Dropbox. And I'm going to create a folder called app. And I will also be... Oh, I'm sorry, I got to deactivate my previous environment. There we go. Okay, so I'll be creating a virtual environment in a folder called env. A virtual environment will allow us to keep track of the frameworks and modules that we'll be using in our web application, so that in the future when we want to install this on a hosting platform like Amazon or DreamHost, we'll be able to quickly list all of the modules that we'll need to install on the host. I'm gonna activate the virtual environment by running the activate script located somewhere in there, and you'll see that our virtual environment is active because we have this label here. Now, like I said before, we'll be using the Flask framework. I'm gonna type this command and that should download it and install it onto our virtual environment. Okay, and now I'm going to create a run file for our app. Right now I'll leave that empty, I'll come back to it later. And now I'm gonna open up my text editor, and I've already gone ahead and opened the folder Dropbox, and you see this file tree here. Inside app, we're gonna create a new file, and in this file we're gonna define a function that creates the app object for us. First, we'll have to import Flask from the Flask module that we installed on our virtual environment. So from Flask, import Flask. And now I'm going to define a function called create app. And inside of this function, I will be creating the Flask application by typing the following. And I'll be defining a route for this Flask application. The route will be just the regular domain name. So I'll just put a / here. And I'll define a function called index. This function will return the string index page for now. Our app will also have a login function so that the admin can log into the system and review the forms submitted by people. I'm gonna call this route login. I'm gonna return the string login page for now. These are just placeholders. So right now our web app has 2 routes. So that means that when you open up a browser, you'll be able to navigate to your domain name, and this should be returned by the server, or you can navigate to your domain name /login, and this will be returned by your server. Now, since these functions are defined inside this create app function, what I'll do is I'll return the app object. I'm gonna press Ctrl S to save this. And I'm in my job box app folder. I'm gonna name this init.py. Now I'm going to go to my run.py folder, open that up, and from our app module, I'm gonna import the create app function. Now I'm going to create an app object using the function that we just imported above. And now I'm going to write an if statement so that if we run this py file directly, and we shall start the server that runs our application. We'll type in app run, and for our host it'll be a local host, so we'll put that in for 0000, and the port I usually just go with 8080, and I'm gonna set debug to true so that if we run into any issues we can see what's going on in there through the browser. I'm gonna save the changes and let's run our application. So our application is running at this address. I'm gonna view that, and you see we are at the index page. So that's one of our routes. One of our routes returns an index page string that we see here, and the other one returns login page. For example, if I put /login, I should be able to see the login page, which is the case. So we haven't run into any trouble yet, or so far. Now I'll be creating a template for our application so that instead of returning these strings here, we want to return actual HTML for the browser to render. In order to do that, I will go into our application folder and create a new folder called templates. Inside templates, I'm going to create a file called base.html. So now in our templates we have base.html. So I'm going to create the title of the page here. I'm gonna call this job box, and what else can we put in here? We are going to put our header tag, our head tag. In our head tag, I will place links to the frameworks that we'll be using, one of which is Bootstrap. I will be getting Bootstrap through a CDN, Content Delivery Network. See, we're gonna need the CSS for this here, and we're gonna need JavaScript. The JavaScript part is for us to be able to use the navigational bar features from Bootstrap. And the CSS part up here is for the styling purposes. I'm gonna use one of Jinja2's templating engine tags called block. I'm gonna define this block as content. So this is a very basic template for now. And I'm gonna create a file called index.html. I'm going to define the content block. Oh, sorry. First, I have to let the engine know that this index.html file extends base.html. And now I can use the block keyword here, block content. I'm going to use a simple div with the class equals container. I'm going to put another div in here, class equals Jumbotron. And a header1 tag. This is welcome. Then I'm gonna have one link called apply now, and the other one's called login. Alright, so we have a base HTML. I'm gonna save the changes. I'm gonna save the changes to our index.html. We'll go to we'll go to init.py. And on the very first line, we'll be importing the render template function. And let's use that here on our index page. We'll type in render template, and the name of the template we'll be rendering is index.html. We're gonna save the changes and run our app. Go back to the job box folder and type in python run.py. Go to the index here, and now we have welcome, and we have apply now and login. One cool thing about Bootstrap is the styles that come along with it, and as you can see, I've already used some of them through the class container, through the container class and the Jumbotron class. There's a class you can use for your anchor tags called button btn and button hyphen primary or default. And I'm going to save the changes. And now we have these buttons here that people can click on, but it's not actually going anywhere when you click on them. We would want the login anchor tag to take us to our login page. So what I'm going to do is give our tag the href attribute. And usually you will type in a URL, but since we're using Flask, we have the ability to return the URL of any of our functions specified here. Our function in this case is login, so I'm going to use this function called URL4 and pass it the name of the function that we want as a parameter. I'm going to press Ctrl S to save that, and let's refresh this. When I click this, oh sorry, it's the login button I should be clicking. When I click this, it takes me to my login page. Now, one thing I want to do is call this job box. I'm gonna call it welcome job box, just so that it's more accurate to the user. Actually, we don't even need to say welcome. We'll just say job box. You can send this link to someone, and they view it on their computer or their phone, and they see job box. They're at the right place. One thing about Bootstrap is that it resizes the layout of the page to fit any device that you're on. Now, this is a very simple layout, but it still kind of demonstrates the power of the Bootstrap framework. Alright, thanks for watching. Next up, I'll be creating an HTML file for the actual form that users can use to apply and upload a resume or any other documents that the owner of this app requires of its users. Alright, that's all I have for this video. I'll catch you guys next time.